What's up everyone, it's Matt Martin with the Grass Factor. Today, wanted to do a whiteboard video. We're approaching cooler weather. Our winter annuals, our winter broadleaves are beginning to make their initial surge. Germination's taking place. So I wanted to talk about the most popular herbicide used in cooler weather, something that we all reach into our pockets to take care of broadleaf weeds with. That is all about three-way herbicides. Okay, when we're talking about three-way herbicides, some of the popular trade names we see out there are going to be three-way, triad, triplet, tri-power, momentum, FX2, Escalade, Battleship 3. There's even some cool power, horsepower, and they all basically revolve around the same classes of chemicals, but in different concentrations, different variations, different formulations to increase or their increased efficacy or safety in temperature-sensitive situations. So it's important when analyzing all these different formulations that you take into account temperature, because most popular, what we actually see is going to be either an amine formulation or an ester formulation. I can get into that in a separate video, but what needs to be known is that amine formulations are going to be less volatile in higher temperatures. And by volatilization, what I'm talking about is the vapor that emits from the herbicide has the potential to drift and harm off-target pests or plants or whatever the case may be. It may vaporize and curl and twist trees. Forsythias are known for their sensitivity to volatilization. So if you've ever seen a forsythia sprayed around it, it dropped all its blooms and all the branches started curling like a roller coaster, you know that that is an example of volatilization that's taken place from the herbicide you use. Could be just drift too. So when you're talking about a three-way, triad, triplet, these are going to be the things that are going to be popular at your stores that you can go in and buy. And typically what they're going to consist of would be 2,4-D, mecaprop, and dicamba. Each of these as a singular product work relatively well. In combination, you can drop rates of all three. It decreases the cost of the formulation, and it's going to slightly broaden your spectrum of control while increasing the level of safety around using these products. Dicamba, in particular, if you pay attention to anything in the news, you've probably seen it thrown around. Products like Banville that are out there are well known for their ability to drift. Dicamba, in particular, works extremely well on plants that have woody tissue. So it's important that we keep our rates of dicamba at a minimum and focus on the actual broadleaf weed knockdown power coming from the mecaprop and 2,4-D with the dicamba as a kicker just to maximize that takedown. So as a product, this is going to be an effective product. I give it an okay on the efficacy. It seems to be dwindling as the years go by how effective it is. And it's going to have a temperature sensitivity about up to 85 degrees. If you're over 85 degrees, I would probably not be looking to use three-way herbicides as a broadleaf weed control unless you're doing it at a reduced rate and after you have tested an area to ensure that you're not actually going to cause any harm. Always test your products before you go widespread with it. Now, some people are a little hesitant to use 2,4-D. It's structured similarly to one of the products that was in had a bad rep back in the Vietnam War. So some people do not like to use 2,4-D, and they go with a product like Tri-Power, which is MCPA, MCPP, and dicamba. MCPA is an ester. Esters are going to be more petroleum-based formulations. They're going to have better penetration power, and so it's going to allow for a more effective delivery of herbicides in cooler weather. Is a tri-power product going to give you a better result than a three-way product? Probably not, because you're not going to get the efficacy out of MCPA that you would out of 2,4-D. So again, as a combination product, it's going to work well. As a combination product, it's going to work well. Might you get a little more cold weather activity out of Tri-Power than a product like three-way? Yes, the potential's there. And the potential is there. So as far as the efficacy, I would give this an okay to good. Temperature sensitivity is going to be around that 85-degree mark. One thing to keep in mind, and one thing that makes Tri-Power so appealing, is the fact that with three-way herbicides, there is a limit to how much we can apply in a broadcast application in a year. I didn't read the label before I did this video, but I believe it's 128 ounces to the acre a year, so that would be a gallon per year, and that would be your max yearly application rate. So the problem is that if you go out with 2 full rates of a three-way in the springtime, say you do it in March and then you do it again in mid-April, you've exhausted your ability to use a three-way product that contains 2,4-D for the year. So at that point, you have to look for an alternative if you want to do a broadcast application. Tri-Power would be a great product to shift to because it does not contain 2,4-D. Okay, moving on. Let's get into our heavier hitters, our heavier ester formulations that are popular in residential lawn care. So for those tougher to control broadleaf weeds, I'm talking about wild violets, I'm talking about buttonweed, Lespedeza to an extent, things that may have woodier tissue involved. It's important to go with a heavier, more powerful herbicide. I say heavier, but it's not a heavier. You actually run reduced rates of these products. However, you're using primarily ester formulations coming in the form of triclopyr and 2,4-D. And what this is going to do is allow for even more significant penetration. And triclopyr as a standalone herbicide is a very, very powerful herbicide. In terms of operator safety, triclopyr is also considered a reduced risk herbicide in certain applications. That's one thing I challenge you to go out and look for, is where exactly is triclopyr considered a reduced risk herbicide. It's a pretty interesting topic. And so with these 2,4-D triclopyr dicamba, I believe that's going to be the formulation in Battleship 3. For Lespedeza, for wild violets, this is an excellent, excellent herbicide to take it down. Now, in terms of temperature sensitivity, this is going to be great in efficacy. I'll give it a great, but in temperature sensitivity, it's going to be up to 80 degrees. You can get away with spot spraying in 85, even plus degree weather. However, turf injury will occur as a result. And there's no real way around that because you're getting the penetrative power of the ester-based formulations plus the heat, which is going to, of course, everything's going to be more vigorously growing. So that's more herbicide that enters the plant that is has the potential to cause harm. Then, if we look at some of the other products like Momentum FX2 and Escalade, you've got a mix of triclopyr, fluroxypyr, and 2,4-D. Fluroxypyr is along the lines of dicamba in the sense that this works extremely, extremely well on woody brush. In fact, if you in the ag world, that's exactly what they've used fluroxypyr for, is going to be those woodier, fibered tissue weeds that infiltrate their fields. So in combination with triclopyr, which is also going to work well in woodier plants and also going to have more broadleaf power knockdown, and in combination with 2,4-D, you've got an extremely, extremely effective broadleaf herbicide. The efficacy, this would be great. Temperature sensitivity, again, you're going to be in that 80 to 85 degree range. Again, I can't stress it enough. If you're spraying in those temperatures, it's important to test an area before you go widespread with it. All right, so now that we've talked about the formulations, let's jump into weather and talking about how it influences the responses of these herbicides. All right, I'll be real quick on this part of the video. So basically, I wanted to talk about formulations of amine and ester herbicides. So again, what we're going to be looking at is how effective these herbicides are in relation to ambient air temperatures. Our amine formulations, I'm going to be talking about products like three-way, triplet, tri-power. For our ester three-way formulations, I'll be talking about another one to add to here would be a three-way ester, which you can get at I believe Lesco has a 3-way ester. So we'll be looking at that. Escalade, Battleship, Momentum, 3-way ester. The temperature ranges we'll be looking at are going to be between 32 to 55, 45 to 65, and 65 plus. Okay, so when we're talking about our amine formulations, at 32 to 55 degrees, you're going to have little to no efficacy. I'll put a plus here because you may have some efficacy. In this, as you approach that 45 to 55 degree window, you begin to have knockdown power. Weeds like henbit, chickweed, that can be a little bit easier to kill, especially if you have a kicker in the tank, which will be in section 3. They begin to respond about halfway into here. But from that 32 to 45 degree range, you're not going to be able to kill a thing like a dandelion. It just struggles. You may be able to shrivel it and shrink it, but you'll still get the flower production. You still get the callback. In this 45 to 65 degree range, that's where you're at a 6. And I would say I'll probably give you the benefit of the doubt and give you a 6 plus. So 60 to 75% of the weeds you're targeting in this temperature range, you're going to get a good, acceptable kill out of. The factors that are going to play into this 6 plus that are going to deal with the temperatures are mostly going to be nighttime temperatures. So at night, with it being so cold, if it's dipping below this 45 degree mark, that herbicide uptake is not going to take place. Now, it does have the benefit, a 3-way amine herbicide does have the benefit of having dicamba in it, which is very systemic. It's going to be absorbed by the roots extremely well. However, at these cooler temperatures, it's not going to be taken up well enough. At the 65 plus degree range, you're going to get a 10. The weeds you're attempting to kill with the 3-way herbicide, assuming it's labeled for it, will kill it. Now, let's talk about ester formulations. So again, we're talking about these particular herbicides. We're talking about these particular temperature ranges, and these are the types of results we're going to get. Ester-based herbicides at this 32 to 55 degree range, a 6 plus. If you're going after wild violets and it's 45 degrees outside, you're only going to control about 60% of them, and that's going to be with multiple applications. If you're in this 45 to 65 degree range and you're doing multiple applications, you'll likely get 100% control on it. In this 65 plus degree range, you're going to get 100% control on them. So, as you can see, ester herbicides are going to be much, much more effective in cooler weather than our amine formulations because of the penetrative power that exists in an ester formulation. It's a petroleum product, and so it's going to be able to penetrate really, really well. So, now let's move on from there. Here is kind of the issue. Amine formulations, cheap. Ester formulations, expensive. Very, very expensive. And this is going to relate to even if you're using a product like Cool Power or 4-Speed or Horsepower that are all known for their ability to be used in cool weather. The problem is the cost. You're looking at sometimes 3, maybe even 4 times as much as an amine formulation. So, one of the other purposes of this video that I wanted to put out there is, how do you make amine herbicides more cost effective to deliver a result similar to an ester herbicide? Alright y'all, for the last part of this video, I want to talk about kickers. These are going to be products you can add to your 3-way amine formulation, which is cheap, which is going to increase your efficacy to the level, as close as possible to the level of a ester-based formulation. Now, you can do a lot with all of these different products, but the problem is at this point it becomes more expensive than the ester-based formulation. So it's best to target, practice, experiment, and find out what exactly works best for you and for your weeds in your particular area, because it's going to vary between what I do, what takes place in Kentucky, what takes place in Kansas, and what takes place in Texas. So, first, I'll start with surfactants. When you're using a 3-way herbicide, it's important to use a surfactant, especially in cooler weather. The problem is as we're applying these in spring, we're getting lots of rain. We need that herbicide to be utilized as quickly as possible by our target pest. So, in terms of surfactant, you can use a traditional spreader sticker. In the video, like I did before, its primary purpose is to break surface tension and allow that herbicide to spread uniformly across the leaf surface. However, in terms of penetration in cooler weather, which is more imperative because the plant doesn't have open stomata that's taking in herbicide just as quickly as possible. It's not allowing it past the cell wall. So how do you penetrate that cell wall? A crop oil concentrate. Crop oil concentrates are going to be more effective in the heat, hence the word oil. However, you will see a noticeable increase in performance from your three-way amine in cooler weather using a crop oil than you will just a traditional spreader sticker. Our next topic is quinclorac, Quali-Pro, the company that has led the way with generics. They have released a product that is a 2,4-D and quinclorac mix. It's called 2DQ. Extremely effective in cold weather. That was the whole reason they put that on the market, was to provide a quicker knockdown in cooler weather. Carfentrazone, also known as Quicksilver. Carfentrazone is going to be what's popular in products like Speed Zone. When you hear the word Speed Zone has Carfentrazone Quicksilver in it. The difference is that Speed Zone is going to be a 2,4-D ester, but Speed Zone is a significantly reduced rate of 2,4-D, but it's in the form of an ester. And the reason why they do that reduction in the rate of 2,4-D is to make it more tolerable on other warm season turf types. That's why you see people using Speed Zone on turf types like Centipede and St. Augustine because of that reduction in 2,4-D ester. That's why I don't particularly love it when I'm going after broadleaf weeds in a fescue yarn. That's why I would prefer to roll my own here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here. Our next one, sulfentrazone, also known as Dismiss. Dismiss is a well-known, very effective herbicide for the control of nutsedge. What most people don't know is that you can mix sulfentrazone with a product like 3-Way to increase the level of burn down you get. Sulfentrazone does a very good job of penetrating leaf tissue and creating that scorch effect. If you can get that scorch effect and penetration power, then have the follow-up of the 3-Way, that slower digestion of the plant of the 3-Way herbicide, you actually get a very, very effective kill that looks to happen pretty quickly. As you can see, carfentrazone and sulfentrazone are very closely related. They're very similar chemicals. The only difference, this has more effect on grassy weeds than carfentrazone does. Carfentrazone in itself tends to be more of just a foliar product. It's just going to have more foliar activity versus sulfentrazone, which does have the potential to make its way to the root system. The other thing about sulfentrazone is that it is persistent in soils, whereas carfentrazone does not have that level of persistence. Pyrofluothenethyl. Pyrofluothenethyl is the kicker that is in a product called 4-Speed. It is also known as octane. So you can go out, you can buy a thing of octane, add it with your 3-Way herbicide, and you will notice better efficacy from it. Pyrofluothen, much like sulfentrazone and carfentrazone, is going to have more action on the foliar side of things, and being an ethyl, this ethyl here, think ester, think petroleum distillate, think penetrative power. So pyrofluothenethyl is going to help enhance the penetration of that leaf tissue to allow a product like a 3-Way herbicide to make its way in. The two most common ones, this is probably the most common kicker that I use, is triclopyr or fluroxapyr. Fluroxapyr as a standalone product is a little more difficult to find, and hence why I don't use it. Triclopyr is very easy to find, also known by the trade name Turflawn ester. Triclopyr, it's an ester. Esters, penetrative power. You can see where this is going. Triclopyr, and that's why you see it in formulations like Escalade 2 and Momentum FX2 and Battleship 3, because it has great broadleaf activity, even in cooler weather. We looked at earlier on the efficacy chart. And then mixed with a 3-Way herbicide, that's going to increase your ability to give a knockdown in cooler weather. However, the colder you get, that's maybe when you want to use like a 3-way, a triclopyr and a carfentrazone, or a 3-way, a triclopyr and a sulfentrazone or pyrofluoroethyl. So anyway, these are going to be the most popular kickers. There's more out there certainly that you could use, but these are probably the most common that I see, and these are the most these are the products that I have the most experience with that I feel comfortable talking about. So, all right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up. That's my whiteboard video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the subscribe button. If you did, share it with somebody else who's in the industry. Real quick, wanted to give a couple of plugs. Coming up in a Facebook, I'm on YouTube. Let me repeat this on YouTube. Coming up in a YouTube Live, I will be doing a video with the founder and owner of Greene County Fertilizer. He also has a national rep brand that's called BioGreen. We're going to sit down, probably on video chat, but we're going to have an in-depth conversation talking about top dressing and biosolids. So all the people out there that love Milorganite, you would absolutely love to see this video because it's going extremely in-depth to the science of it and how really the newer products that are coming out are revolutionizing everything that's going to be taking place in our fertilizer industry. Also coming up, well, we're going to dive in a little bit to the business behind fertilizer and weed control. This is something I kind of stay out of, but I am willing to get a little bit into it. We're going to talk more specifically about software. Scooter's Lawn Care and myself are going to be talking about these particular topics in an upcoming video. We're probably going to shoot that next week, then give me a week to edit it. Then, also coming up, I'm going to be having a YouTube live video. Also coming up, I'm going to be having a YouTube Live with a business consultant. Again, diving a little bit more into the business side behind fertilizer and weed control. And that's actually going to be with Peter Shiplove. He's of Permagreen, who has built many spray companies. So anyway, y'all, I've got a lot on the horizon. I've still got videos coming out from my test of the Anuvia products. At first, I'm going to put out a video with those guys and just let you learn a little bit more about the product, a little bit more about the manufacturing process. So there's a lot in the works, y'all. Please help me stay motivated to keep going. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me the ins and outs, what you like, what you don't. I didn't do a whole lot in the field this week. I was doing back-end business stuff, hence the lack of videos this week. So anyway, y'all, I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you got something from this video. If you did, if you didn't, comment below and tell me. All right, y'all, I appreciate it. Have a good one.